All right, guys, it's time for NHL Power Rankings Week 21. Let's get straight into it. With pick 32, I've got the Chicago Blackhawks. Staying where they are.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Look, hard to move a team that's sitting, dead last and doesn't win a game for the week. They do pick up a point though against the Detroit Red Wings in a 3-2 overtime loss. They have a 5-0 blanking against the Avs and a 5-2 loss against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which is probably one they want back. So yeah, not too much to say on them. They're just doing what they're doing,
Hmm.
and basically just fighting for that number one overall pick.
All right. Speaking of teams that don't win, San Jose. No wins this week. They do get destroyed by the Devils 7-2, 6-4 by Anaheim. Then they go to shootout against Dallas and get the point. So it's kind of the same week as Chicago. So no movement there, obviously.
Tough to move on teams that don't win a game. All right, number 30 for me. We've got a new team in the bottom three. We said it probably would happen, and it has. The Arizona Coyotes.
I've done the same.
Yeah, look, I mean, they broke their winless streak. I think it ended at something like 14. But 3-4 loss again, overtime loss against the Winnipeg Jets, which is a tough one, but a 4-2 loss against the Montreal Canadiens, a 4-2 loss against the Toronto Maple Leafs before finally ending that long ass winless streak, 5-3 win against the Ottawa Senators. So, look, they do get a win, but when you lose 14 games straight, um, let's just say they're very lucky not to be 32nd at this point. But look, they finally got the hoodoo off their back. So hopefully they can turn their season around
All
or
right. And obviously
something.
moving up, Anaheim at 29.
Yeah, same here.
And look, they're above 500 this week. They lose to Nashville 4-2. They beat San Jose 6-4, as we mentioned. Then on the back-to-back with 23 shots, conceding 55, they beat New Jersey 4-3 in regulation. So honestly, just more of a capitulation from New Jersey than Anaheim doing great things. But good results and positive week for them. And so that's why they're finally out of the bottom three.
Yeah, you had to reward it, even though they got severely outplayed. They got the win. Um, all right, 28 for myself. The Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, look, I think they've just gotten to the point of their season where they're gonna, stay around this point. They start off with a 4-2 win against the Coyotes, a 3-4 shootout loss against Florida, and a 3-4 shootout loss against Tampa. So they pick up 4 of 6 possible points, and they put up some really good performances against two good teams in the Panthers and Tampa. So a good week for them overall. I just couldn't move on them yet, considering how poor they have been in recent
Yeah,
weeks.
2-6-2 in the last 10. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
that's grounded. On to my next one. We have team not moving, Columbus Blue Jackets,
Same here.
and look, they've been doing all right things this week. Obviously beating the Rangers, then losing to the Rangers on the back-to-back, coming up against Carolina. Always a tough ask, and they lose that one. And then they beat Chicago, a team you'd expect them to win. So pretty much, considering they had Rangers twice and they beat them once, it's a pretty positive week, all things considered, with regards to the schedule. But only 500, so it's hard to move still.
Yeah, exactly. They're still a team that I think are going to be one to watch next season, but it's pretty safe to say their season's done and dusted this year. Probably talking about another team that season's done and dusted now, the Ottawa Senators.
Yes.
Yeah, it looked like they were going to pull off a little bit of a late run, but they've regressed again and gone back to their usual ways this season. With 3-6 loss against the Washington Capitals, 4-1 loss against the Nashville Predators on the back-to-back, 3-5 loss against the Coyotes, and a 2-4 loss against the Flyers. So, look, they're all mid-range, except for the Coyotes who are bottom end. They're pretty much mid-range teams that they played. Nashville are on a tear. Philly's all right. So are Washington, but they weren't fantastic teams, and they couldn't pick up a single point. So you lose 4 straight. That's just summed up Ottawa's season, I feel. Right when you think that they're going to make a push for it, they go and drop 4 games straight with no points against teams that realistically they should be going minimum 500 against. So yeah, not good for Sens fans.
Yeah, worst goal differential for the week, -10, even worse than Chicago at -9, who also lost all 3. So that is the concerning part there. 25, pretty horrendous team at this point, New Jersey Devils.
Same here.
And look, their season's done and dusted. They got things to fix and look at during the off season. I'd expect a new coach, but that probably won't happen. They start off the week 1-4 loss against Tampa, only 19 shots. They thrash San Jose 7-2, but it's San Jose. Then they lose to Anaheim 3-4, as we mentioned, with 55 shots and only allowing 23. And that was in regulation. So they've kind of capitulated. Their season's done. They look horrendous on ice. Like the defense is you can only have so many offensive defensemen, youngsters, until you start leaking. And this is honestly they should be on the other end and be in the top 10 realistically from how they played last season, but it's just not how it's turned out this season.
Oh, it's not, and Anaheim were on a back-to-back as well to make things worse. So, yeah, look, season's done and dusted. I think Devils fans can all be quite frustrated at the moment, considering they, after the 10 years of misery, they were supposed to be headed into 10 years of pleasantry, and it's not to be just yet. So yeah, let's see what they can do in the off season. All right, 24. I pressed the wrong button. 24. I have the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, okay. I got them at 22.
Ooh, he's a little bit higher on them. Yeah, look,
I
I'm just
actually, these teams from 25 up are all basically the same for me, up to about 19.
We're calling it. The teams in these positions, their seasons are done and dusted.
Pretty much.
But look, they start off the week pretty good against Philly with a 7-6 win. Defense was not played. Then they get a 4-3 overtime win against the Vancouver Canucks. But then from there, their week just sort of goes downhill with a 2-0 loss against the Kraken and a 4-3 loss against the Calgary Flames. So, look, not a terrible week. They pick up 4 points. They go 500, but it's pretty much just summed up the Penguins season. They're not much better than a 500 team. They seem to be consistently at 500 over the past 10 for probably the past couple months, when they really do need to get into gear at the moment if they're wanting to be a playoff team, and I just can't see them doing it. And it is such a waste because Crosby is having an absolute phenomenal season, but he's not going to be in the playoffs.
Alrighty, 24 for me. I have the Seattle Kraken.
23 for me.
Not moving. They had a decent week, but they don't move just because other teams jumped them in regards to a little bit lower. But we got Boston Bruins shootout win. So start off was good. They beat the Penguins 2-0. And then they come up against Edmonton and lose by a goal 2-1. So decent week, all things considered, especially with the week. Honestly, going to OT or shootout against Boston is no surprise though, being it's Boston. But yeah, it's just another team that's a little bit of a disappointing season, and just disappointed how it's kind of ended for them in a sense.
All right, 22 for me. I got the New York Islanders.
Yeah, that's my 23.
I feel like we should call these guys the Undertaker. Just when you think they're dead, they rise from the dead. Yeah, I don't think they're going to make playoffs. I don't think they're a playoff team. But my God, did they have a good week? 3-2 overtime win against the Dallas Stars. 5-3 win against the Detroit Red Wings, and a 5-1 win against the Boston Bruins. So they went 6 from 6 points. and against three top 10 teams from last week. Like I think if you look in, yeah, Boston 9 for me, 9 for you, Dallas 7, 7, 5 and 5. So, you know, three top 10 teams from last week, and they beat all of them. But it just seems to be honestly the way the Islanders are. They have this ability to win these games, and then they'll just go back to overtime losses and losing regulation again, and they'll dip, and they'll probably be 26th again next week.
Alrighty. My 21 Buffalo Sabres.
20.
Yeah, a team that's been doing good things. I'm just gonna move that. All right, so just yeah, a team that's been on a little bit of a streak here. So they beat Carolina in shootouts. They come against Florida, lose by a goal in a close game. Tampa, they go to OT and win it, and then Vegas, they blow them out and win 7-2. So all really top end teams, really, maybe besides Tampa, and maybe Vegas because of how they've been playing recently. But honestly, they're on a run. They're doing it at the right time. I don't know if it's too late. It's kind of too late, but if they keep this momentum, it might not be.
That's they're probably going to go on a run and finish 1 point short again. Sorry, Sabres fans, but it just seems to be
that's cruel.
what you do. Maybe don't leave it until March and February to go on your runs. Maybe try and time them more like December, January. But yeah, look, it's good that they're finding form, but again, it's similar to last season, just a little too late. All right, 21 for me. I have the Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
Finding a little bit of life. We said that their season's probably done and dusted a couple of weeks ago, but they're finding themselves a little bit again, which is really surprising. 6-3 win against Ottawa, an 8-3 loss against Detroit, 5-2 win against the Philadelphia Flyers. So, some crucial points against some conference rival teams there. But yeah, look, I still don't think they're going to make it. I don't think that they're good enough, but they just won't quit. They're hanging around and they're in the hunt. I just don't quite think they've got what it takes.
Yeah. Same here. 19 for me. The St. Louis Blues. Team that's kind of taken a little bit of step back. Like they're 4-5-1 the last 10. This week they go and lose to Winnipeg 4-2. Back to back, Edmonton, they go to OT and lose that one. And then they beat Minnesota Wild 3-1. So 500, tough ask in regards to scheduling and opponents. And look, they go 500. I feel like they need a little bit more than 500 though. So that's my only concern. And they're just slightly outside the top 16. But it's been like a slow slide probably for the last 2 weeks. And I'm just a little concerned if that's going to continue.
And I think with the emergence of Calgary and obviously Nashville performing as well as they have been, this little slip really could cost them.
Hmm.
All right, 18 for me. I have the Minnesota Wild.
Ooh, there's my 17.
17. 17, big call, huge. No, look, after I think we were looking at these guys as potentially, making a run for the playoffs and being included in that conversation we just had with Nashville and Calgary and St. Louis, but again they've regressed. 3 straight losses, 2-3 loss against the Carolina Hurricanes, a 6-1 loss against Nashville Predators, and a 3-1 loss against St. Louis Blues. So, two of those teams that are competing for that last wildcard spot, or two of those wildcard spots, the Predators and the Blues, they lose both and lose them relatively convincingly as well. So, not a great week for them. I'm almost on the defense of saying their season's done and dusted, but not just yet.
I'll say it just because fun. All right, 18, Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, they're my 17.
Yeah, I tossed and turned between them both. So on to Tampa. They go basically 500. They beat New Jersey 4-1. lose to Philly 6-2. They lose to Buffalo in OT, and then they beat Montreal in shootout. So they get 5 out of 8. Not bad. A little bit disappointing in regards to the opponents they faced and the results they got. Personally, for me, I feel like this is a week they probably should have won minimum 3, probably taking 7 or 8 points for their season to really kick off into the playoffs. And look, they're 5-4-1 last 10. I find it hard to see them falling out of the playoffs. If anything, it's probably going to be Philly, if anyone does. But still a little concerned for them.
Yeah, they've still got to put in the work and get the wins because they've got people right up there behind. But yeah, it's going to be hard to see them getting kicked out, especially with how Kucherov is playing as well. All right, first of the 16, the team you were just talking about potentially getting kicked out of the playoffs, the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yes, my 15.
Yeah, look, a little bit of regression. Starting to raise some questions, I think, as the deadline comes up. 6-7 loss to the Pens, a 6-2 win against Tampa Bay, a 2-5 loss against the Capitals, and a 4-2 win against the Senators. So 4 from 8 points. They went 500. They are holding on to that playoff spot, but only just, especially with the Islanders and Capitals starting to make a move. They have been sort of going backwards a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, I'm definitely have my
Yeah,
eye on them, and
since
I'm
Carter Hart left.
wondering exactly, and I'm wondering what they're going to do at the deadline too. Because if they continue to regress a bit, I'd be very interested to see if they're going to move some of their players on.
Yeah, like losing Carter Hart, you kind of don't have a goaltender as well. So even if you make the playoffs, it's going to be really tough. But it is what it is, I guess. Moving on to my 16, LA Kings.
Team.
Yes. So look, they go 1-2. They lose to Edmonton 4-2. Back to back, they lose to Calgary 4-2, and then they beat Vancouver 5-1. Difficult week. All Canadian teams coming out on the bottom end of it, and look, they're playing decent hockey. And I know they are what is it, like 7-3 in the last 6-4 in the last 10. So they're above 500 last 10. I probably need to see like 1 or 2 more wins. Like, I know the Calgary game was on a back to back and Calgary wasn't on a back to back, but I kind of want to see them win that one,
Yeah, look,
especially when you're
they've
in the
got 10.
race.
Well, exactly. They've got 10 overtime losses as well, so I think that's the hesitation. Like
Yeah.
you're 30-29, so really without overtime, you're close to a 500 team. But I still think that they're good enough to play to make the playoffs, but they definitely can't afford to have some slips like they have late or of late. Um, they need to really turn it on to their start of the season form.
All right.
All right, at 15, I got the Vegas Golden Knights.
My 13. They don't move even though they've been poor.
Yeah, that's a call. Look, it's tough. Mark Stone officially out for the season and potentially out for playoffs as well. Um, they're not gonna. Well, they might do what they did last year with him, but at the moment, it's looking like he's not gonna be back for the playoffs if they even make the playoffs. They get a 6-2 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs, so a good start to the week. A 4-5 loss to Boston and a 7-2 loss to the Buffalo Sabres. So that loss to the Sabres is just massive. And on top of that, losing Mark Stone until the rest of end of the season, they could be in some trouble.
Yeah, they've been underperforming. Good win against Toronto. Have to give them credit there. Hard game against Boston. It's always going to be close. And yeah, it was just the Buffalo one, but Buffalo's been on a run, so I don't know what to think of that game. um, in a sense, so because Buffalo does some crazy things sometimes. So I haven't. I did punish him in a sense, but with the Wild dropping like they did and whatnot, they kind of just ended up sitting where they were. Uh, Onto my 14, I have the Calgary Flames, and look, this team's been in form. in a sense. They pretty much since they've been doing their trades really, but they get the LA win, obviously, that we mentioned, 4-2, and they also come against Pittsburgh and win by a goal, only having the 20 shots, conceding 30, but win 4-3 in regulation. So two wins, 2 games. They're definitely in form. I forget what their last 10 was. If I have 7-3, they've won the last 5, so they're on a run. They were talking about trading Markstrom and whatnot. Doubt that's going to happen now. So yeah.
They're 10-3 in their last 13 as well, because I think they went on a 5-game winning streak, a 3-game losing streak, and then a 5-game win streak. So, yeah, look, in some red hot form, but again, this team can be really streaky. All right, my 12 is the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, same here.
Only won 3 games in their last 10, but are still above 500 in that last 10. Figure that out, right? So yeah, look, the Boston Bruins, 3-4 in shootout, lost to the Seattle Kraken, a 5-4 win against the Vegas Golden Knights, and a 1-5 loss against the Islanders. So they go 500 again, which is pretty much just summed up their last probably 2 months. But they're 3-2-5 in their last 10 games. Like, it's insane. They've got 14 overtime losses. It's keeping them well and truly in the hunt. They're gonna make the playoffs. Like, they're not gonna get kicked out, but they definitely need to find some form and find a way to win. Look, losing in shootouts not all that bad, or losing in overtime, because at the end of the day in the playoffs there is no 3-on-3 overtime. There is no shootout. It's going to be 5-on-5. So we know that they're going to be in just about every game. I just would like to see them playing a little bit better hockey than they are. They should be getting some, like, they should be winning in regulation against some of these teams that they're losing to.
All right, onto a team that's doing me good for my preseason predictions. Nashville Predators at 11.
Yep. So who you were talking about there? Bang.
Yeah, look, I was really hyped on this team, and they're finally showing what they're doing. Started off 4-2 win against Anaheim, 4-1 win against Ottawa, 6-1 against the Wild, and then 5-1 against Colorado. So, no games over 3 goals conceded. Scoring a lot of goals, 4-4, 6-5, and honestly, probably one of the informed teams this week anyway. And
The trot, mate.
for
Take
for
the trot.
for the roster they have, this is probably why New Jersey is where they are and Nashville's where they are. They got the coach and New Jersey didn't. So it shows to, like, Philly as well. It shows that coach does matter in this league. And yeah, they're really showing people what they can do. It's been a great run.
They're on fire. All right, top 10 time, hey? First in top 10 for me is the Colorado Avalanche.
Yes, I've done the same thing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it didn't boost them enough. There was a team that I was considering to take their place, but didn't see enough from them. They get a 5-1 win against the Dallas Stars, a 5-0 win against Blackhawks. So, like, it's a good win, but also it's the Blackhawks. But then they lose 1-5 to the Nashville Predators. So I think if they had beaten the Nashville Predators or been a little bit more competitive, they may have moved up a little bit more. But all in all, 4 from 6, reasonable week from them. It's basically just waiting for the playoffs now for these guys.
All right, number 9, Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had them at 7. They got to do something to move from it, and then next week they will move back to 7 because that's what they do. They started off OT loss against the Islanders. Back to back, they had Colorado, so it was on a back to back. They lose 5-1. Then Winnipeg, they win 4-1, and San Jose, it goes to shootout, but they get the win. But it did go to shootout, which was the concern. And I guess that's my worry. Just every now and then they have a hiccup here or there, and that's kind of why they fluctuate from between 7 and 10 essentially.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But
All
they've
right.
bolstered their team, so we'll see how that pans out as well.
Oh, exactly. They went and got Tanev, which is a huge get. I think they're looking at a couple other players as well. So, look, they're gearing up for it. But yeah, the inconsistencies are there with them. All right, number 8, Vancouver Canucks.
Ooh,
Just on a bit of a slide.
did like
Were
them.
the best team in the league for a bit.
Yeah, which is kind of insane. They're almost out the top
Yeah.
10.
Oh, exactly. But yeah, look, when you're not winning games, it happens. 3-4 overtime loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins, a 5-1 loss to the Los Angeles Kings, and that was it for their week. They only played the 2 games, so they get 1 out of 4 points. But look, they've been heading in the wrong direction for a little bit, for a few weeks now. 4-5-1 in their last 10. They're no longer at the top end of the standings either. So yeah, look, again, similar to a Boston chat, they're going to make the playoffs. They're not getting kicked out unless they lost their next 20 games, basically. They're going to be in the playoffs. So it's not all doom and gloom because they're going on a bit of a slide. They've just got to get back to that form come playoff time. So they can have a bit of a slide now. They just need to find it right before playoffs kick off.
All right, number 7, Detroit Red Wings. Just
My 6.
moving down slightly as well. So yeah, they go to OT against the Blackhawks. They destroy the Capitals 8-3. They lose to the Islanders 5-3, and then they go and get blanked by Florida 4-0. So look, topsy-turvy week, losing the Islanders, Florida. OT against Chicago was my concern, and then obviously they did destroy Capitals. But in the top 10, you've always got to kind of go above 500 to remain where you are or progress, and they don't really do that this week. They get what 5 out of 8, so they did go above, but yeah.
Yeah, look,
Oh no, they got like
I
500.
still that
500.
they were 500. Yeah, I mean, look, Detroit have been pretty good. I think they're going to play playoffs this season. I'd
Yeah,
be very shocked if they didn't. Just with how they're performing at the moment, which is really good to see, especially for some Detroit fans out there. But yeah, look, they regressed a little bit, but I still think that they're one of the most enjoyable teams to watch this season. Um, all right, number 7, the Edmonton Oilers.
cool. Okay. Then my number 5.
Number 5. Now I'm trying to figure out who's your number 6. Yeah, look, they're in some red hot form at the moment. They get a 4-2 win against the Los Angeles Kings, a 3-2 overtime win against St. Louis Blues, and a 2-1 win against the Seattle Kraken. Yeah, look, they're in some fine form. I definitely understand how you've got them in your top 5. I could have probably had them there as well. Just stuck with Detroit. I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of favoritism from me. Just not a Detroit fan, but I'm really enjoying their style of play this season. But yeah, look, Edmonton are scary, dangerous at the moment as well. I mean, Connor McDavid went on like what a goalless streak, and he still had like 15 points in that
Yeah,
period.
everyone was bagging him, but it's like, but dude, he's just setting everyone up.
He was still like 1.5 points per game,
Yeah,
but he just didn't score.
yeah. If that's the worst you can criticize that man, then yeah, you got to do better.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, 100%.
my 6, the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh, yeah, they're my 5. So,
Yeah, well, they basically Edmonton didn't lose, and Winnipeg will go 3 out of 4, but they go OT against Arizona, which is decent. They got the win. Luckily, didn't give Arizona their first win. Beat St. Louis 4-2. They lose to Dallas 4-1, and then they beat Carolina 5-3. So look, they've been playing alright. I've been a bit concerned, like they're I feel like the last few weeks or whatever they've been outshot pretty consistently. Maybe that's just in my head, but I feel like that's what I've seen. And but yeah, that what 6 out of 8 points. You're always going to move up. I think they're what third in the standings. They're 8-2 in the last 10, so they're definitely in form. But I couldn't move them over Edmonton just for the fact Edmonton did not lose and they're already above them last week.
that's fair. Yeah, I'm high on the Jets. I think they've got, especially with Hellebuck in there, I just think they've got a more complete team. But
Oh yeah,
again, the Oilers are in a mighty fine form. And look, I'm excited. You look at the Canadian teams coming through. Like Oilers are looking good, Canucks are looking good, Jets are looking good. and Toronto, obviously, who's in both of our top four, also looking very good, with the Flames even coming up out of nowhere. So he could be the year of the Canadians, to be honest with you.
Ah, but Batman's in charge, mate.
We're getting the conspiracies out early tonight. But all right, on to number 4 before this gets out of hand. The New York Rangers.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, look, they slide a little bit. Even though they had oh, actually, I think they had a bit of a down week. They lose 4-2 to the Columbus Blue Jackets before beating the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-1. And then they get a shootout loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So they go 500. Not a terrible week, but honestly, when you're playing the Blue Jackets twice, you should probably be over 500. So yeah, they drop a little bit from me. Your concern, and I think we raised it last week as well. They're conceding 40 shots quite often. Like, they seem to concede a high amount of shots just about every game. And I know
I can't remember the
Shesterkin's
last
good.
time it was under 30. I
No,
really know.
all of last week was 40 and above, even though they won.
This week was
So
30, 35, and 40. So
yeah, so it is concerning, because I know Shesterkin's good and Quick's played really, really well this season as well, but eventually that's going to implode.
all right. Number 3 for me, Carolina Hurricanes. And look, still really informed team here. Shootout loss to Buffalo. They go and win against the Minnesota Wild, win against Columbus, 4-2, 3-2 and 4-2, and then they lose to the Jets, 5-3. So an interesting little run there. It's just a little bit of slide, not too much, but they're still playing great hockey, but they weren't really keeping any of their teams down to low amounts of shots. Besides Columbus, it's Columbus, which is my concern. They weren't playing that full defensive game.
Yeah. Look, I still think they're probably one of the top contending teams, especially now they've got the defense sorted. But yeah, it was a little bit of a slip week, but I'm not too concerned. Number 2, and I think there's some fans out there that are going to really enjoy this. Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Like, you're so close to number 1, guys. You are so close to the number 1 spot. But look, Toronto, they're on fire. They're doing just about everything right. They start the week off pretty shaky with a 6-2 loss against the Knights. But I didn't punish them too much for it. You're allowed to have a little blip on the radar here or there. 4-2 win against the Arizona Coyotes and a 4-3 shootout win against the Rangers. So they finish off strong. They are, I believe, 9-1-0 in their last 10. So that loss against the Vegas Golden Knights was the only loss they've had in their last 10 games. So again, you can't punish them too much when that's the only loss they've had. But yeah, look, they're in some mighty fine form. They've gone back to their regular season bully status. The question is, they don't really want to be regular season bullies. They wanted to turn it around and beat the playoff bullies this year. So I guess only time will tell if they can do that. But they may be number 1 next week if they keep this up.
Well, it's going to be pretty hard because the top 4 teams are all Eastern teams, and on to number 1, Florida Panthers. And
Yeah.
look, flawless week, so you can't really move them down, can you? So 3-2 win against Buffalo. I guess the only flaw, they go to shootout against Montreal, but they do win that one. And then they blank Detroit 4-0. So definitely informed team. Now pretty much the number 1 team in the league in regards to table. Only team over 700
Yeah.
point percentage and 9-1 in the last 10. 4-game win streak. They play in really good hockey. That's the other thing. Reinhardt is just super deadly. I feel like that power play is it's kind of like the old Washington power play where it's so obvious what they're going to do, but teams still don't stop it. You know, how it always go to Ovechkin at that top point. So yeah, I feel like if anyone figures out that power play, Florida could have a little bit of trouble. But other than that, yeah, flawless.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. They've been absolutely phenomenal. And if they play like this in the playoffs, they're going to be a hell of a hard team to defeat.
Hmm. All right. Got nothing to add there. I guess we'll end there. So yeah, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content, and don't forget to comment below. Let us know what your rankings are, what you think of our rankings, who did better, me or Nick. Obviously me, but yeah, just comment that below so I can like that. But until next time, guys, we'll catch you.
Yeah, guys.